Welcome to the embassy and welcome to the first panel for today. And I would like to open this panel with the words of Ahmed Yusuf, one of the persons we did not cite until now. He's the Minister of Economy in the Afrin canton in Rojava. And for an article he wrote for a book colleagues and I together edited, he said, when you think of Rojava, do not think of war, but also think of construction. And we will discuss construction in this panel today. The construction of a new political architecture, the construction of new ways in which people in Rojava organize society, administer their affairs, and organize the way in which they relate to each other. And this organization is not done, as has been mentioned before, in a state form, but as a confederation of communes, a model of democratic self-organization. And our discussion in this panel will evolve around two key concepts, and that's the concept of democratic autonomy and the concept of democratic confederalism. Allow me to say a few words introducing these concepts. Democratic autonomy, I think, is a form of active citizenship defined as the right of people to decide about their own affairs. And this right is being practiced along three dimensions. And the first dimension is geographical dimension. It's people defining their own affairs at the level of neighborhoods, villages, cities and cantons, taking decisions over what is important in the places where they live. But there's also a second dimension, and it's the cultural dimension, the dimension of religion, in which different cultural groups and religious groups have the right to decide themselves on affairs important for their religious and cultural identity. And then there is the third dimension, which is reflected in gender quota, but also reflected in a separate structure of women councils. If everyone can decide over their own affairs, this on the one hand gives expression to pluralism, but on the other hand may come together with the risk of a fragmentation of society and the proliferation of a political culture in which everyone takes care of their own affairs only. And this, I think, is where democratic confederalism comes in. It's an interrelated council structure, which functions as a way to create the possibility of consultation, of deliberation, creating a form of connectivity and coherence at the geographical level, but also between religious and cultural groups and along the gender dimension. This alternative model is a model of democratic self-administration, and this is presented as an alternative for the nation-state, also mentioned already. That violent form of government which emerged in modern Europe and became the organizing principle for government over the last century. We should realize that the attempts, the initiatives to develop a form of self-administration is not done on the basis of a blueprint. It's not copy-paste from textbook to social reality. Politics is the art of inspiring. And democratic confederalism and democratic autonomy are inspiring working practices. What impressed me most during my visit to Rojava, together with others in the context of the New World Summit in October 2015, was the belief in the possibility to live together in a non-exclusionary and a non-exploitative way, and the determination to stand for this. In this panel, we will explore this further, but also ask critical questions. And I think I came to the point of guiding you through the program, and we have a small there's a small difference in the program we will follow compared to what is written in the book. We will have 2 co-ambassadors delivering a keynote. The first co-ambassador is Asya Abdullah, and the second co-ambassador is Bassam Said Isaka. We'll introduce them in a moment. After we had the 2 keynotes by the co-ambassadors, we have a small break, and then we continue the conversation with Karianne Werkstraat and with Meester Gifford. I will also say more about them in a moment. So let me introduce you to Asya Abdullah. She is one of the co-founders of the PYD, the Democratic Union Party, and she is also the co-chair of Asya Abdullah. Asya, may I invite you to take the floor and to deliver your speech?
Di serî de em xêrhatina we teva dikin ji bo we silav û rêzê xwe pêşkêş dikin. û em saziya nû a cîhanî û tevahî sazî ku alîkar bûne ji bo ev proje pêşxistin, taybetî jî şaredariya Oslo em gelek spas dikin ji bo ked û xebata dana meşanin. Di derbarê dîrok û polîtîka mixabin di dîroka mirovahiyê danê yekî gelekî ku ji tevahî em bêjin dîroka mirovahiyê danê ku hem dîrokekî ku bi êş hem alîkê dîtir berxwedan ev jî beşekî ji dîroka gelê Kurdistanê ye. Di şerê cîhanê ê yekemîn şerê cîhanê ê duwemîn ku ew guhortinê ku li herêmê çêbûn mixabin polîtîka ku wê demê hate meşandin guhortinê ku hatin çêkirin gelê Kurdistanê li derveyî van guhortina hate hiştin û polîtîka parçebûyînê û înkarê heta roja îro jî li ser gelê Kurdistanê tê meşandin. Weke gelê Kurdistanê me her tim bi tevahî gelê herêmê ra, bi tevahî çandar ra, bi tevahî netewa ra me her daye ku di nava aştî û aramî ku di nava mozayîka ku heye em hevbeş jiyana xwe dewam bike. Ji bo mafê xwe ê rewa ji bo azadî û demokrasiyê her tim gelê Kurd li hember zulmê, li hember desthiladariyê, li hember komkujiya her tim li ber xwe daye û ev berxwedana xwe dewam kiriye. Ji bo wê bi deha tevger li Kurdistanê tevgerên siyasî ê civakî serhildanê ku serenserî Kurdistanê bi dehan car ev serhildan rabûne lê mixabin her carek jî rî û birî ketinê mane û êrişî ku çêbîne bîne encamê wê komkujî li ser gelê Kurd dibare çêbûne. Yekemîn tevgera Kurd ya ku bi bandor dikarî di nava tevahî gelê Kurdistanê û herêmê danê pekbişînekî bide meşandin duwarê civakî da, duwarê zanistî danê, duwarê polîtîka da, duwarê avakirinê da, duwarê parastinê danê tevgera azadiya gelê Kurdistan ya ku li Bakurê Kurdistanê di salê heftê de derket. Tevgera jin jî bi tevgera azadî ranê hat destpêkirin û mezin bû. Ji bo wê li hemberê guhortinê ku bi taybetî li Sûriyê di 2011 da dest pê kir weke gelê Kurd, weke gelê Rojava ji bo ku em carek dîtirnê li pêşiya polîtîkin ku di şerê cîhanê yekemîn û duwemîn da meşiyan ji bo ku em rê pêşiya wê bigirin biryara ku em şoreşê bikin dest pekuşîn. 2012 şoreşa 19 Tirmihê li hember rejîma Baas, li hember dagirkirina rejîma Baas tevahî saziyê ku tinê bi navê Partiya Baas و inkara gelê Kurd û hemî gelê herêmê dikir şoreşa 19 Tîrmihê bersiva vê da li şona saziyê rejîma Baas saziyê civaka medenî saziyê civaka demokratîk hatine kirin. û li ser encamê şoreşa 19 Tîrmihê 2014 ji bûyî ku em bingeha jiyanekî azad û demokratîk di hundirê Rojavayê Kurdistanê da di navberî tevahî gelê ku em bi hev re jiyan dikin tekuşînek hat meşandin di encamê vê danê di 2014 kanton hatin awetin. Kanton li ser modela netewa demokratîk li ser felsefa netewa demokratîk ku em tevahî gelê herêmê dikarin bilengek beş bi hev re jiyan bikin em bi xwe rêveberiya xwe bikin em bi xwe saziyê xwe ava bikin em li hemberê hemû êrişê faşîzan ne em bikaribin xwe biparêzînin jiyanê biparêzînin ji ber çareseriyê ne sîstema dewlet netewe ne sîstema navendiye çareseriya ji hemû pirsgirêkê di serî da ê gelê Kurd û tevahî em bêjin pêkhatî ku îro em li Sûriyê bi hev re jiyan dikin çareserî modela netewa demokratîk e. Hêza bingehî netewa demokratîk jin û ciwan e. Ji bo wê navenda tekuşîna me a netewî a Sûrî azadiya jin e. Ji bo yê avakirina sîstemek azad û demokrat ji bo yê avakirina sîstemekî ku mafê jin azadiya jin têda misoger be civakekî ekolojîk demokratîk em ji bo yê vê tekuşîn dikin. Şerê li hemberî Daişê li hember faşîzma Daişê li hember hemû êrişên grûpên çete ê ku li ser îrada gela ê ku li ser azadî û demokrasiyê bi taybetî jî êrişê ku li ser jina çêbûn Rojavayê Kurdistanê bi sîstema xwe ya parastinê jî dikarî tevahî gelê herêmê biparêzin. û jin îro hêza pêşeng a berxwedana li dijî Daişê û li dijî tevahî zilma nişandin. Tevahî sîstemên desthilatdar di dîrokê danî û an sîstema Daeş ji bo yê ku civakekî tune bike, îrada civakê tune bike, carek dîtir koletiyê li ser civakê bide meşandin, hedef jin e. Ji bo yê berxwedana jin li hemberî Daeş berxwedana azadiyê felsefa azadiyê jiyana azad li hember koletiyê. Berxwedana jin YPJ li hemberî Daişê û hemî grûpên çete berxwedana ji bo yê parastina hemî jin e. Ji bo yê wê hemî felsefê ku ser jinê di dîrokê de hatine meşandin ku jin hêza wê kêm e ku jin nikar siyasetê bike, jin nikar şer bike, jin nikar rêvebirî ew zihniyet hemî binkin. Ji bo wê îro rastiya sîstema Rojava Rojava îro rastiya jin e. Ji bo wê misogeriya azadî û demokrasiya gelan a jiyana azad ya wekhev jin e. Îro herî bi bandor jî dikare siyaset bike jin e. Ji ber polîtîka siyaset karê civakê ye. Ê herî baş dikare bike jin e û civak. û ev karê ku îro li vir ji yê nîşana wê. Sîstema konfederal yek ku em dixwazin pêş bixin sîstema konfederal ad navberî civak dikin. Civak dikare bi hev re alîkar pirsgirêkê xwe çareser bike, piştîriya hevdû bide, her kes bi rengê xwe, bi îrada xwe, bi nasnama xwe wek ku îro sîstema ku li Rojava hatiye vekirin. Ji bo wê min dibêjin destkeftiyê şoreşa Rojava destkeftiyê hemî gelê Sûriyê azadiya tevahî gelê Rojava azadiya tevahî gelê Sûriyê azadiya gelê Sûriyê azadiya Rojavayê azadiya jin azadiya civakê. û divê heta dawiyê em wek jin wek tevahî netew çand ol nasname em bi hev re tekuşîna azadî û demokrasiyê li hember bêedaletiyê li hember desthilatdariyê li hember faşîzma Daeş û li hember hemê faşîzmên siyasî يكو إيروجي لسرقة لكرد مشاندن ولباكور كردستان أصلي هبي بلدات مشاندن تقول هم باري بيان تكوشين
Abdullah for this inspiring and passionate speech, address. I have one question, a clarifying question. We have in your speech, but also the speeches before, we have referred several times to democracy. And my question is, compared to the nation-state model, what difference does democratic confederalism make for a citizen of Derik, Kamishlo, Amude or Manbij?
يعني سيستم الدولة حتى ذكر الديمقراطية جواكي بيشاوي دقرة نتوى ديمقراطيك بيشا أزادي والديمقراطية جواكي بسينور ودقر جبوي سيستم الدولة أكو لجور شدبر سيستم نتوى ديمقراطيك لجير بربجورج دولة جواك إدارة دكيا نتوى ديمقراطيك جواك بخوخ إدارة دكيا دولة رولا ديناميك جواكي ضعيف دكيا جن أو جوانا هركم بيشابه دكيا ضعيف دكيا نتوى ديمقراطيك أبهيزا ديناميك جوان وجن بيشنجر يا ديمقراطي چانده زانستيا جواك بوينه هبرا جيان كرنه محمد نتوى ديمقراطيك دانه در فتره تزلته سيستم ديمقراطيك سيستم كي هو كامل برجن ومراد هي اما الدوله ما.
Okay, thank you very much for this clarification, Asya. Abdullah, I'm sure we can discuss this further in the panel. But first, I would like to give the floor to Bassam Said Isak. He is the president of the Syrian National Council in Syria. The floor is yours.
It's Rojava. Good morning or good afternoon. Sabah al-Khair. I would like first to thank the mayor and the city for hosting this very symbolic event. I would like to thank all of you who have contributed to this meeting and all of you who have come to be with us and hear our perspective on this very incredible model that is being created in Syria, in the northern part of Syria. I am the president of the Syriac National Council of Syria. So I want to give you a little bit of history. What are the Syriacs? Why are they important in this model? And what do they contribute? The Syriac people, history in Syria goes back to 5000 BC, altogether about 7,000 years. And they are like the Kurdish people today, distributed among the same 4 countries: Iran, Iraq, Syria, and Turkey. So we have a common experience. And in the last 100 years, as Syriac and Kurds, we have also had a very common experience. Experiencing oppression of identity, marginalization, denial of the center of the state. Syria, I don't want to go a lot in history, but let's focus on the last 100 years. In the year 1915, in Turkey, the Syriac and Armenian people experienced the massacre known as Sefo, and Armenian and Syrians were massacred in 1915. Imagine, at the time, the population of Turkey was about 13 million. Imagine a nation, killing like 20% of its population. Today, Turkey is about 80 million people. How many people? Those 2 million would have been today. Many of the Syriacs, when the line was drawn between Turkey and Syria, modern Turkey and modern Syria, they chose to cross the line and be in what became northern Syria. And they were there with Kurds and Arabs living together. And in the northeast of Syria, we had a region called Jazire, or the Gazarto, meaning island in English. And in this island, part of historical Mesopotamia, Kurds, Syriacs, and Arabs lived together. It was first under the mandate by France, and they built together under French occupation the first political organizations. My own father was the first mayor of his town, Amuda, and he was elected by Kurds. The Kurds were the majority, and wanted to elect a Syriac Christian as their mayor, and his name to this day is in Amuda, the building where he built the courthouse. So his name is there as the founder. So we had a history together, Kurds and Syrians. And we shared a suffering the last 50 years under the Assad regime, a suffering of identity marginalization. In my city, Amuda, or in the region, in Hasake, if a Syriac business owner or a Kurdish business owner put a sign on his store with a Kurdish name or a Syriac name, what do you think will happen? The police will come in a few hours, bring down the sign. You can only have an Arabic name for your business. And this is an example. I couldn't learn Syriac language in school. The Kurds couldn't learn the Kurdish language in school. We had to accommodate the Arab identity. And even Syria itself changed its name from the Syrian Republic in 1958 to the United Arab Republic. Then later, when the Assad regime, and before the Assad regime, when the Ba'aths took over in 1963, they called the country Syrian Arab Republic. How do you feel as a Kurd or a Syriac when, on your identity card is written that you are an Arab and you're not? Many Syriacs started calling themselves Arab Christians. So you take on another identity. When the revolution broke out in 2011 in Syria, I was working as a director of the Syrian Human Rights Organization in Damascus. And I monitored many of the early demonstrations by the Syrian people. And the Syrian people chanted, and these were regular citizens. They were not politicians, oppressed people. They chanted for freedom, dignity, and they said the Syrian people are one. Now we can understand what they meant by freedom and dignity. But how could we make the Syrian people one? That was a question in my mind as a Syriac, and I am sure was in the mind of many Kurds. How could we be one in a country of many ethnicities, of different religions, different sects, and different political aspirations? This question I took with me when I joined the opposition, when it was first established in Istanbul by under the name of the Syrian National Council. And I wanted an answer from my other colleagues. I was one of the General Secretariat members. I wanted to know, how are we going to be one as Syrians? And this is when I realized that there are different agendas for the political opposition. And in time, I could recognize the three main visions. A vision for Syria to be a religious state, and a vision for Syria to be a pluralistic state, and a vision for Syria to be a nationalistic state. And the vision that fulfilled my aspirations as a Syrian, as a Syrian, and the aspirations of the Syrian Kurds is the pluralistic vision. And this is the vision of Rojava in the northeast of Syria that we have joined. It recognized our language, Syriac language, our identity. Our language is for the first time formal in 2,600 years. So we are fighting hard for this model. We believe that Syria today is at a crossroads. We either go through the pluralistic model that is being fought by all the states around in the region, because it undermines them, or we just go, we offered 500,000 mortars to go back from one dictatorship to another. This is our struggle, and we are very thankful that you are on our side. Thank you.
Bassam Isaac. Also, one question for clarification. From your speech, I understood that the Syriac National Council of Syria subscribes to the idea of democratic confederalism. And in your speech, you said, well, the main question is how to become one. So, do you see democratic confederalism as a means to become one, while at the same time being able to decide over your own cultural or religious affairs?
I think, a diverse country can only become one by recognizing the other identities. This oneness has to come through recognition, not through marginalization and denial of others' identity. We don't have to say that we are all Arabs to be one. I visited northeast of Syria recently, a month ago, and it's my region. I couldn't recognize it at first. The art is different. The many changes. You don't see the Ba'ath party, graffiti all over as it used to be. But another very important difference was when I approached my city, Amuda, that the name of my city, Amuda, was written in Kurdish, in Arabic, and Syrian. And I was very surprised by my reaction. For the first time, as a Syrian, I felt I belong in this place. So our unity is going to come through our diversity, not through imposing one Arab or religious identity.
Thank you very much. We will continue the conversation around this table first, but after half an hour, approximately, we will give the word to you. So you will be able to ask questions and to engage in the discussion. My request is not to make long statements because time is limited, so to come quickly to your question or to the point you want to make. First of all, I would like to ask Karianne. Well, we discussed a bit in the break, and you said to me that you wanted to say a few words about the origin and the evolution of the concept of democratic confederalism. So may I invite you to make some comments on that?
First, I would like to say that this is a wonderful event, and I really wish that there will be an actual embassy in Oslo next time we meet. About the evolution, I've known the Kurdish movement for many, many years. I've been researcher, so I have some have had some project on the Kurds. I've been with them since the early 2000s. And I would say that democratic confederalism, even if it was introduced maybe in in 2005, I think, the thinking that is behind it, in my opinion, started much earlier. It started in the early beginning of the PKK by the first members who went to the villages, went to the rural parties of Baku in North Kurdistan to talk to people, to try to organize them in units, in small communities. They had literacy programs. So this way of thinking, of doing things together, to mobilize people, to have people understand what you want, to get the direction. In my opinion, it started with the PKK in the late 70s. And then it has developed.
You mentioned literacy, political literacy. What's the importance of literacy or political literacy in the Kurdish movement or in the context of democratic confederalism?
In the Kurdish movement today, participation is at the bottom of everything. If people don't learn to participate, if they are not given a chance to participate politically, they are not able to read in a way or to be aware of their surroundings, their political surroundings. They will easily get assimilated if they don't have this critical ability to read their landscape. And that is exactly what the Kurdish movement has done and achieved, is to get people politically literate. To read and write is one thing. To read a political landscape, that's some of the same, but it's also something else. So you have to get conscious of the world around you. And that is when you have that ability, when we learn that, and that is what they learn in Rojava today, and previously also in the PKK in the North Kurdistan, then you can say you have the potential of being an active political agent or actor.
Political literacy, Meser, political literacy education is also rather important in the context of the YPG. You have been active as a volunteer in the YPG. Could you tell us a bit about your experiences in the YPG with an emphasis on the dimension of education and political literacy?
I think education underpins everything that the YPG... Forgive me, is that not good?
Yeah, it's good.
Oh, sorry, I've got to get a little closer. I think education underpins absolutely everything that the YPG and YPJ are all about. When you speak to people on the ground, they understand the issues. They know exactly what they're fighting for, which is something that I've never experienced in my life. I've worked with the British Army as a reservist, and even in, I suppose, recent wars that the Brits and Americans have got involved in, people come back incredibly disillusioned with the insurgency in Iraq or affairs in Afghanistan. But on the front line, with the YPG and YPJ, they understand exactly what they're fighting for, they truly believe in it, and the sense of hope and optimism is absolutely inspiring for a foreigner. So your education begins the very moment you enter the country. For me, it was in the training academy, where I spent a week learning Kurdish history, Kurdish politics, and then it developed on when I joined a tabor on the front line, where we allocated time to talk to one another, to understand, to answer questions. So yeah, it's a big part of what we do.
Political literacy, education is an important aspect within the Kurdish movement. But does it also make has a risk that when you have that strong focus on education, political literacy or particular political literacy, that you make people think similar, and that it in a way suppresses differences or conflict while you want to have it discussed with each other?
Well, no, I know you're eager to get in here as well, but from what I've seen, it really is a dialogue. We sit down as a group. We have a chairperson who sort of calls people to speak and sort of shares and encourages people to expand on points and all the rest of it. It really is a dialogue, and it really is an opportunity for people to speak their minds. And in fact, everyone has a responsibility to speak. There's no quiet voice in the corner. So it's not education in the sense that there's someone in the front forcing things down through our ears or anything like that. So yeah, it's a very positive engagement, basically.
What's your take on this, Karianne?
I would say that you mentioned, Marcel, you mentioned hope. And I would say that in Rojava, within the Kurdish movement, they speak the language of hope. Hope is very essential. And also, on a collective basis, like you mentioned now, how they learn, how they educate themselves in groups. And many would say, isn't that brainwashing? No, it's exactly the opposite, because it provides you with a tool to be able to express your opinions, to have a response from others, and to try to come to a conclusion together on a problem. And this is what our ambassador, one of our co-ambassadors mentioned, this collective way of learning, this collective way of acting. Because we're talking about a bigger we. We're talking about us together, not one and one. Yes.
Well, yeah, actually, just to build on that point, actually, you talk about hope, and we spoke about this before. One thing that I love about the political movement in Rojava, in the democracy movement, is the fact that it is a message of hope, that it is that it offers solutions that the West hasn't even occurred to the West. It really is a third way, and so it's a mentality of the glass is half full. We can't look at Syria like a basket case, which so often in the media, in the West, in politics, in political discussions in the West, they look at the country like it's falling to pieces. They have this idea of no hope at all. And whenever I get in front of people and try and encourage more support for Rojava and for the democracy movement, it really is about telling them that this is a message of hope, that there is a third way, that we don't sink into despair, that there is an indigenous renaissance in the Middle East, and it's going to do not only amazing things for Rojava, it's going to do amazing things for Syria, the region, and ultimately the world.
On a previous occasion, Mazer, you talked about the healing effects of democratic confederalism. Can you explain what you mean with the healing effects of democratic confederalism?
Yeah. I think we all know the insidious nature of fanaticism or fascism, which burrows itself, wedges itself amongst a community, drives us apart by exploiting what divides us. And with democratic confederalism, it's all about community communication. It's all about community cohesion. We heard earlier from other Havals about the multi-ethnic, multi-faith composition of Syria itself. And in the past, in the West, we've sort of fallen into this despair model of thinking that dictatorship, tyranny of the minority, is one system of government in the Middle East. The other side is tyranny of the majority in an American-style democracy. But there is a third way. And amongst villages that I've seen liberated, people truly feel a sense of empowerment after years of fascism.
Could you relate it more to your experience within the YPG?
Yeah, no. So as the YPG moves forwards, once we liberate an area, once we liberate an area, we immediately get the community talking about education, talking about politics. We create a little town council. And for the first time, actually, for many of these people born under dictatorship, people who have endured fascism, sort of fanaticism for so many years, you actually genuinely see a, I suppose, liberation. I think the best way, with all the horrible things happening in Syria, with all the millions of people leaving the country, they no longer feel a part of society. And every time I liberate an area, or every time I've been part of a group that's liberated an area, I've seen the destruction, the death, the division amongst communities. I've gone away for just 3 months, 4 months, come back again, seen the local community working with the Rojava authorities on education, on political discourse, on rebuilding their community. And the difference is absolutely remarkable. So when I use the word healing, I think it's quite an apt word, really. It's the best word to use.
You also have been in Rojava, Karianne. Do you see this democratic confederalism as a way of bringing people together, a new way of relating to one another?
It's absolutely a way of it's a model that should be the model for maybe the whole world. Maybe we won't reach that, but at least we have a lot to learn from it. Educationally, politically, on many, many levels. But what really, really amazes me in this movement is, I know I've been to Genere, to Kandil, I've been to Rojava, I talked to the YPG on Tel Tamer, is that they say, if we don't read, we have not been working. I need to read every day. And also the kind of the friendship, the wonderful friendship that they express, and how important they find it. And there's a lot of stories about it, but this kind of caring for each other, this warmth, this love, because this revolution is talking about, speaking words that we no longer use. In Norway, we've forgotten to talk about love, hope, solidarity, the glue that takes us together. And I think that is also at the bottom of this, of the movement and the democratic confederalism in Rojava. That is the people who are connected on a daily basis and I want to stay connected. And also the diversity, that all these groups come together and in a way speak the same language of hope, as I said.
Bassam Isaac, may I ask you to contribute to this discussion? Do you, as a president of the Syriac National Council of Syria, do you recognize this idea of democratic confederalism as a means for bringing people together, a new way of relating, healing in terms of social relations which have been disturbed by violence and conflict?
Our people have lived together in the region, as I said, and have lived happily together. They have found a way to coexist together. The question has been, how can we translate this into a political system, into a where it is not oppressive? And this is what this model has offered. It's in a state of monopoly of power, you have power sharing. In a state of marginalization, you have inclusion. In a state of uniformity, you have pluralism, recognition of the other. And this seems to have become a solution that has brought relaxation to everybody, you know, from all that before, where they had been told that this is the best way that they could have and they should be thankful for the Syrian regime for what he has given them. He has given them protection, you know. But I remember one time a Christian Syriac lady who was a Ba'athist, you know, and pro-regime, you know, just 2 months before the regime, she came to, we were neighbors, our businesses were next to each other in Hasake, and she came to me and she said, "Neighbor, can I have a cup of coffee?" And I said, "Of course," you know. And then she said, "You know what's living in this country like?" And I said, "What do you mean?" And she said, "Living in this country is an exercise of inhale and exhale." So even to those who the regime said and convinced them that he's offering them security, their life was meaningless. They wanted, she told me, I wish God didn't give me this life and count it as a life. You know, people want to self-actualize, to live in a place where they share power, where they are included, and this is what this model offers the people. Now, of course, when you go into a new model where you have experienced hundreds of years of oppression and imposition of identity, whoever has the military power will have the political power, will impose their identity. When you put this aside, try to put this aside and go into a new model after thousands of years of the other model, it cannot happen overnight. And it's going to be difficult. And people, you know, intuitively might reflect back to the old way. So it's something that you have to overcome. And so we shouldn't expect, it's not realistic to expect that this will be operating at full speed, at full 100% as we wanted. It's going to require work from us and effort.
Yeah, I'm sure there will be questions about that later from the public. I have one question for Asya, Abdullah. If the democratic confederalism is about new ways of relating to one another, and if it is a bottom-up structure in which people do the things themselves, then what is the role of the PYD, a political party which is in fact based on representation? So it seems as if we have a kind of a contradiction here between representation on the one hand and a bottom-up organization on the other hand, or do I see that wrongly?
نادي السريدة لسر سيستما كونفدرال از دخوازم كن بحث بكم لسر پیوستی جواکی هاتیه پیشخستن بشورشا چاندنی و شورشا گندرا و بجواک بوین ایرانه اف سیستم جی وک پیوستی درکت پیش و جویا درباز بو حتی علاقات ای گند و باجار هم چوا بکار بن پیوستی لهمبر هفدو پیک بینن آلی کار بدن و اویا رولکی پر گرنگ جبوی پیشخستنا مروواهی لیست و اساس وکی چاندکی دو کردستان داجی پر لپیشه جبر کردستان جی ناوندا هم چاندنیه و هم جیانا کومینال یا دسپیکیه کنفدرال مدل دولت هیا کنفدرال سیستم نابر دولت داجی هیا لیا ام بحث دکن کنفدرال سیستم جواک تکلید نابر جواکی لسر اساس خدمت هفدو قبیل کرن وک پیاده جی ام نه پارتی کی کلاسیکن سیستم مجی وک پارتی نه سیستم ناوندی مرکزیه و آرمان جا مجی نه دستلاداریه پیاده هدف وی آواکرنا جواکی کی پولیتیک اخلاقیه فلسفه نتوا دموکراتیک جی و جبوی کد جواکی دانه آلیه سیاسی پولیتیک جواک ببا اراده ام جبوی وی کار دکر سیاست جبوی تثبیت کرنا پیوستی جواکی و چارەسەری پێشخستنە ئێرۆ ji بۆی civaka Kurd ji بۆی tevahî civaka Sûrî çi pêwîst e peyede ji بۆی wê kar dikin siyaseta demokratîk civaka demokratîk saziyên demokratîk û civak bikaribe bi xwe xwe îdare bike û bi hev re jiyan bike wek partî xizmeta wê dike.
Thank you. I slowly want to bring the mic and the word to you. But before I do that, I would like to give the word to Irella. She is a representative of the CUP, the leftist independentist party in Catalonia. And also the CUP works with ideas which are very close to what we refer here to as democratic confederalism. And it also points towards the idea that this idea of democratic confederalism is generalizable. So, Irella, could you make your contribution, make a comment, a remark, or ask a question?
Yeah, really. First of all, thank you for organizing this event. And just shortly, as you were saying, for us, it's really important that the concept of the democratic confederalism, and it's important also just thinking in Europe and how it's built Europe and how we can not just help Kurdish people or the movement there. Also, how can we build a Europe of peoples? Just starting with them, with the idea of the municipalities and the society just building it. And for us, it's important, and we are always thinking, how can we learn about this and how can we practice or put this on practice just to change not only the situation in Syria or the Middle East, also in Europe, and we can build or we can make this world revolution all together. So I would like just to ask to them if they think it's able to do this, just knowing that the societies are different, so we cannot do exactly the same, but how can we just learn each other about this experience, and how can we build something in Europe also completely different and can help to people, and who can at least build the Europe of peoples. Thank you.
Maybe a question then for Asya. Abdullah, the question you formulated, but I would also like to give it to Mayser, who maybe can talk from his experience in Rojava and what we can take from Rojava to the British or the European context. But first, Asya Abdullah.
يعني تجربة روجافا أساس يعني وك سيستما ما ديمقراطيكي ألترناتيف سيستما كو بعث بينجي صار داوي كل سر جواكي مشانت جبوي ويجي سيستما دولة بعث تن رنجك هبو بعث هبو عرب هبو جبوي ويجي تجربة ديمقراطية وسيستما فدرال يا كونفدرال يا كل روجافا بيش دكفنها چاندا ديمقراطية چاندا پر رنگ بوينه هر نتاو هر بشك جواكي برنگ خو بناسنامه خو بزمان خو و اگرنجي جنجي بالناسنامه خو دناف سيستم دا جيد گرب و او هيزا فكر و چاندا ديمقراطية هيزا جواكي مزن دكه ادي نه دولت هيزا جواك هيزا ادي چاره سريه نج دولت دخوازه پيوستي خو بخو تامين دكه نه لبندا علي ديتره جبوي و روجاوا پاراستن علي پاراستن دا جبوي کو سیستما خو آوا بکه جبوی کو سیاستک هی باشتر خورتر یک زانستیا جواکه اویات جم هفدو گل جواک دکار بخوره و بریا خو بکه جبوی ویجی دمی کو جواک بخواه دبه هیس دکاره هر تشتی بکه روز اول همبر شرکی هری گران ای داعش لهمبر حصاره گاوه پرمزن آوشت یک جی مدل گلان چاندا گلا دموکراسی گلا پیش وی سیستم روجاوا همه گلی سوریه یک جی سیستم روجاوا سیستم جنه.
Thank you. Mayser, what can we take from the Rojava experience, revolution to Europe?
I suppose I can really talk mostly from a British context. One thing that really inspired me very early on was the fact that Britain has, over the past 10 years, been moving down the devolution route. We've seen it in Scotland, Northern Ireland, in Wales, and now, obviously, in places like London and other places. But what I really, and this is absolutely something I admire and something I totally supported, and seeing what democratic confederalism stood for, and the giving power to communities and to ethnic groups to really establish their identity and be part of a wider, more open, transparent society was something that completely blew me away. And you just look, have you noticed in the West, and certainly in Britain, over the past, for hundreds of years really, we've had to claw our rights from the government, whether it was the suffragette movement seeking equal rights for women, or the numerous other protests and hundreds, if not thousands, of people who have had to die over the past few hundred years to get some semblance of democracy that we have today. Now, what's absolutely wonderful about Rojava is it's a blank, it's a map basically. It's where we can start from scratch to build the society that we want to see. Everything changes, everything has some form of evolution, but politics, strangely, is incredibly slow at evolving because those in power like to cling to it, and it's very difficult to thaw that ice and get power down to the people. And if you just look at Britain, is one of the worst examples for this. The fact that even our parliament is confrontational. The different parties sit opposite each other. And then we look around here, which is the wide open, transparent space, and you can't help feel enthused. And so with politics struggling to evolve, what we see right in the heart of the Middle East, a very conservative region, a region not renowned for change, we see, as I said before, a renaissance, something absolutely truly wonderful. And in Rojava, we see a diverse community of all these different people, but we have the chance to throw away all the bad politics, all the bad history that human civilization has collected over the years, and we can start from scratch and use open, transparent debate to build the society that we really want to see. So, yeah, I think from a European perspective, I think the struggle will have to continue. We're not going to... the terrible things have happened in Rojava with the war. But there's two fights going on at the moment. There's the physical one against the Islamic State, but there's also another struggle, which is the struggle for the political identity and for the revolution in Rojava, of which we're talking about today. So I think the West needs to plug away, keep fighting, keep clawing power, keep devolving and keep evolving, and hopefully we'll see a Europe like Rojava in the not too distant future.
Thank you. Karianne, would you like to add a brief comment?
Yeah,
and then I go to the public.
In response to the latest question, I think it's important to understand what the Rojava revolution is about, and then try to say what is in this for me, in my party, in my organization. Might be just a little bit, but that is much. And I think that if, when all these brilliant ambassadors go around the world and talk to people, talk to politicians, it's obvious they don't understand. They have no clue. They don't, Rojava, where is that? Who is that? So, in a way, it's important for me to say that all of us here, each and one of us, are co-ambassadors for Rojava. We need to support this struggle in our own way and try to establish delegations to see for themselves. And it's important to work on the mainstream media, the mainstream politician, the conservative forces, because they really don't understand. They are just repeating what Turkey is saying, international, the Western countries, they're just repeating, saying that, oh, the Kurds are so split, Rojava, what is that? You are so many parties, but you can't unite. Of course, that's politics. They're discussing, but they don't know. And so we have to work on this, to put this into practice in our own context. Yeah.
Thank you, Karianne. Questions? Oh, I see a lot of hands. I start in the back, and then I come to the two of you and you. Yeah, in the back. Difficult to reach. But please be brief. You have 30 seconds.
Yeah, it won't take so long time. So I will first thank everyone for this amazing event. But first of all, I believe in democratic confederalism. I believe that democratic confederalism empowers us to overcome the many problems associated with artificial states in Middle East, and empowers us to obscure or to hinder the concentration of power, hinder factions to monopolize power. But when we explore the democratic confederalism, we see a chain of delegations, like street councils delegate power or elect people to neighborhood councils delegate power to city councils. So we see a process of delegation, a chain of delegation, or inside the system. Doesn't this chain of delegation contradict with the very criticism of the experiment of Rojava towards contemporary comprehension of democracy that incorporates people only in the process of delegating power? We try to avoid delegating power that characterizes the contemporary democracies, but at the same time we do the same, but just in another form.
Okay, thank you. And for who is the question? To the panel. Okay, but I will first take a few questions and then I go to the panel. And please, I forgot to mention your name and from where you come.
Or
Yeah,
hello?
yeah, here in the.
I have a mic at my face, but okay.
You have the mic. Okay.
Okay, hello, my name is Shnur and I wish to welcome you all. My question is, you've talked a lot about democratic confederalism and all the plus sides of that, but what are the biggest challenges with respect to democratic confederalism on the ground? And for example, with regards to women liberation in such a conservative region. Thank you.
Thank you. And then we had two questions over there, and then and you, and then we go to the panel again.
Hi, this is Nizar. I refer my question to you. You questioned the existence of YPG and YPG, and I ask you the same question. Could you explain the existence of ISIS and interference of Turkey while they get the international support? And everybody knows the intention of YPG and YPG, and despite all our humanitarian intention, we get no support from the world.
And the question is for?
I asked you the question, what's the existence of ISIS?
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
My question is, as Rojava fights for their life, next year, as the Syrian Democratic Forces liberates more and more villages in Sheba, is there a practical plan on how to make the local population, how to include them into democratic federalism society, and how to make them, how to motivate them to fight to defend this society, how to make the local population in the liberated villages in Sheba, how to make them want to fight to defend the values of democratic federalism. This goes to the representatives of the Rojava administration.
Thank you. That's a good question, I think, for Mesa. But yeah.
Hi, I'm Dominic from Brussels. Nice to meet you. I've understood that the new system was meant to address the needs of the people and the society, but also at some point it was said that, well, people need to eat, to feed on a daily basis. So my question is a very practical one. In the middle of this paradigm shift, how do people of Rojava manage to produce their own food and have their daily supply of food?
Thank you. I would first like to ask the panelists, maybe first Asya, Abdullah, to answer or to respond to the two first questions, which are about the council structure, which is also a structure of delegation, and is that not contradictory to the idea of self-administration, because then you have to do it yourself. So we have another way of representation here. And the challenges. What are the challenges, in particular from the perspective of women? But briefly, because we have not much time left.
یک سیستم لروجاوا کمین دست پیدا کرد. یعنی نمونه مثلا گندک کمین خواه هیا. بخواه جیره و بری خواه هد. وقومسيون جرا بيويس شوا قومسيونا جدار او جند وصاب بفشي خدمت خدك عيني اف موديل باجارا جي تشربه هجمار كومين بمجلس وقالك سازيه مدني جهناي خدمت جوال كده والسيستما كانتونا جي جوا عربي بيجن تنفيذي يعني يا قانون ساس قانونا شدكي هي وعدالتي هي دادك اب هر سيجي كاريوا جدانه وهر يك جي لغوري سیستما خو کاری
Yeah, but the question is about the tension between the idea that you are doing things yourself, but at the same time you have a chain of representation. And does the chain of representation not in a way undermine or is contradictory with doing things yourself? I think that's the question. So the contradiction between doing things yourself and representation.
نا اف سیستم همه هفدو تمام دکه هر باجار جی تایبەتمەندیە خو هەیە gelek باجار dibe kantûn û sîstema jêr heta jor jin wek hev nav hemî sîstem da cî digire sîstema jin ya xweser jî heye jêr heta
Okay, and what are the main challenges? That was the other question, in particular from the perspective of women.
Yani tehdiyatê mezin yek şerê ku îro tê meşandin bandorê wê gelek mezin ser jin çê dibe ez netinê ji bo jinê Kurd dibêjim ji bo hemî jinan dibêjim yek jî li hemberê qanînên civakê ê paşverû û evana jî em hemî bi sîstema perwerdê li hemberê vê tekoşîn yani pirsgirêkê jina tev dikarin û zehmetiyê jina tev dikarin bi perwerdê bi sîstema perwerdê çares mesela nav civakê nîzîkbînê li ser jin heye qanînê civakê berê hebûn سر جن قانونی بری دبهات مش جن پچیک مثلا دزوجی و ظلامک جی دکاری به چار جنارا بزوجی اویاجی چند کی پر خرا کو باندورا خال جن و جوان لدجی ویجی یسای جن درکت و نها اف یسا دمش
Thank you. Mesa, may I ask you to ask the question about the liberation of villages and what happens after them, the self-defense, not only self-defense in a military way, but also self-defense politically, and the question which was asked on ISIS.
Well, I have to say, I suppose one of the first things that happens after a village is liberated is that village is educated. Educated on their rights, educated on all the different ways that the Rojava administration is there to help them and to support them. It's remarkable to see a village which, as I said before, has been blighted by years. People were born under a dictatorship, and in the past few years has endured fanaticism, has endured the most horrendous ideology of hate over their society, over their village. And for the first time, when they're liberated by the Kurds, or even liberated by the SDF, by a multi-ethnic force, they see a completely new way of doing things. For the first time, they feel invigorated. Because obviously, as I said, there is an education, because there are some people that fear change. They don't know what they're going into. And it is the responsibility of the Asaish and others to educate them and all the rest of it. The YPG is a military force, and as soon as they've liberated an area, they actually move on. And as a YPG fighter, I would often leave, if I'm going into town, anywhere, all across Rojava, I'll leave my weapon in the car. I'm encouraged not to go into town with my uniform on, because the administration wants the feeling of normalization for people to feel like that they truly have been liberated, that they've gone back to peace and prosperity and a new way of doing things. So yeah, I have to say I'm no expert, because as a YPG member, I would fight for the village. I'd see ISIS leave. Sometimes the villagers would leave, and then we'd encourage them back and help them in some cases actually rebuild some of the damaged areas. But then our job is primarily the defeat and destruction of the Islamic State. But as I said earlier, as someone who's gone into a village and seen the death and destruction that war can reap on society, to come back to it months later and see children playing in the fields, see schools open, see people engaging with each other, and see them have an excellent relationship with the YPG and YPJ. And that's one of something that I've got to say, which is incredibly frustrating for me, was I spent 6 months last year in the YPG. And I fought all across the country. I fought until Hamas, the Abdullah Mountains, and many other places. And I suffered alongside the multi-ethnic force that the YPG is. And then I came back to the UK and I saw the political posturing. I saw the outright lies that are perpetrated in the West. And it, as a foreigner, and I truly feel Kurdish in this respect, I felt truly betrayed and angry that these lies were being told and believed by people. And it was my job not just to fight, because there are thousands of Kurds who will fight, and much better fighters than me. My job in a privileged position as a Westerner and as an Englishman, I can go there, I can fight and stand in solidarity, but the most important thing I can do is to tell the truth. And we mentioned earlier about everyone being a representative of Rojava. And I think that's absolutely key. And I think education, telling people about Rojava, about democratic confederalism, what we're fighting for, it'll inspire people. And maybe the Havals from Catalonia will truly feel inspired as well, and it'll start making greater changes, and I truly believe it will. So.
Okay, then we have one question. One question left, that's in relation to the paradigm shift and all the political work. How do you, in the context of all those changes, produce your food?
يعني اف مدير جي لسر اساس بيوستي چارەسەریە کو ایدی هری باش اف مدل جبوی وی مدل پیشکرد يعني هم كونفدراليزم ديمقراطيك هم نتوا ديمقراطيك اساس او كي خوي ديروكي كافن هيا هلا برز اوجلان انجام لي كورينا ديروكي فلسفه علم وبرسكريكي كو ايرو هم الهرمي هيا هم برسكريكا كرد وك انترناتيف چارەسەری ابياجي هم بيشكيشي قال كرد هم تواهي قال هرمي يعني ايرو ام دمي بحث روشا سوري دكن سوريا موزايك كي برخورت هيا يعني باجار مهنا باجار مهر محلكي نتوقت ده هيا كرد هيا عرب هيا سريان هيا ارمني هيا تشركس هيا تركمان هيا ام حمي بهفر جيان دك وچنا با يكل سر ايدي ترجم بدا سلادار لي ام حميد كارن نوا في سيستم دا بهفر جيان بكن وانا هاجي موديل ريفبريا خسر 16 بارتين سياسي جالك سازي مدني تفجير جنو جوانا وك نتوا كرد عرب سريان اسوري ام بهفرا نافي فيجي ريفبريا خسر كي ام بخا فايدانا در واي فيجي چارەسەری يعني دوي برسكريكي خو ام بخا حل ديمقراطي جي دوي ام باب جبوي ازادي جي ام بدل اود لي ام في باورنو ابي سر بكاج بر تاكوشينا جلاي.
Thank you. I think we have to come to a closure of this panel, but not before I ask my final question to all the members of this panel. And after that, we go for lunch. I will make an announcement about that. So, but first, the question: we have been discussing democratic confederalism. We have been discussing the revolution in Rojava. Not to go away and say to you success and goodbye. We are here at a new world embassy, and somehow we try to find new ways to relate to each other, to connect to each other, and also to support each other. So I want to hear from each of the panelists one and only one message we should take home from this panel. Let me start with Bassam Isak. One message.
Well, a surprising question. I think one message is that this is a revolutionary model that will fulfill the aspirations of all Syrian people. It's being challenged by traditional politics, and we need to come together to promote it, because it could bring benefits to all of us, whether we are here in Europe or anywhere else. And this is a fight. The truth is being hidden, and there are lies trying to undermine this model. So we need to learn more about it. We need to support it.
Thank you. Mesa.
I think the best thing I want everyone to take away from today and from all the wonderful things that are happening at the moment is hope, basically. Hope that I could actually point to half this room, actually for nearly 100% of this room of people who are fighting every single day for a wonderful future, not just for Rojava, but for a whole new system, a whole new way of doing things. The challenges that we've had to face are unbelievable, and the sacrifices we've had to make are unbelievable and incredibly, incredibly saddening. But against us is the Islamic State, one of the worst and most foul organizations ever to come out of this century. We've got a repressive Turkish state, which is rolling back any semblance of democracy, rolling right back and becoming a failed state in many respects, and needs to be confronted. And then we have ignorance, and we have a lack of understanding of exactly what should happen in the Middle East, and that there is a genuine third way. So the hope is that there are people battling, and the beauty is, although it's a struggle, and this struggle will not end anytime soon, we're winning, and it's goodness will always shine through, and this will happen because we believe and we're working together.
Thank you. Karianne.
These are very wise words, Meister, and I really agree with you, with all you said. I would say that Rojava will never disappear. Even if people are coming crushing it down, it will never disappear from the minds of the people. So it will stay. So my message would be to the Norwegian government that this embassy is here forever, for Rojava. And also, in line with what you said, it has to be, we have to tell the truth, how to tell what is going on, and make people more active, include people more, and also the mainstream.
One message.
Thank you.
Okay, Asya, Abdullah, also one message, and then we close.
جبوي أفكرنا سوريا كي ديمقراطيك دستورك ديمقراطيك كو تمثيل حمق لي سوريا هبا وأم بكاربن بهاف باش نبا أشتي وأرامي وديمقراطية بهاف رجيان دبي أم تف بهاف راكار بكر تجربة شورشة روجافا دكارب بنجه بسيستم شورشة روجافا شورشة كي ذهني وجداني لهمبري حمد بعدالتي وحمد ظلم وجبوي آزادي وديمقراطية وكبير.
Thank you.